Hi everyone. Just trying to make sure I start on time. Um, Hope everything's okay. This is Reclaim Your Time. It's part of our Thrive um, program of webinars that we're doing. We're doing one each month. Next one's going to be the 10 hacks of the business, but this is going to go just talk about some claims, um, how to reclaim your time, looking at some mindsets, some sort of really key sort of authors that have done a lot of talking about sort of reclaiming time and looking at things more productively. So that's what we're going to go through today. Why listen to me? Just very quickly, I'm Nikolai Naylor. Naylor Accountancy Services is my firm. I'm also the MD since 2011, so we've been doing that since 2011. We've grown Naylor Accountancy Services, and we're constantly growing Naylor Accountancy Services. I've also got intelligent outsourcing, which we started in 2016, and that's grown to over 100 team members. So I do know a lot about this subject because I've had to work on it myself, obviously, to make sure my businesses work. Always share this at the start. So apologies if you've been to this before, but the core purpose of Naylor Accountancy Services is to be your partner in finance and help businesses thrive. So that's why we've got these webinars. So it's not just all about compliance. It's also about learning how to manage your businesses better as well. And within that, being a partner in finance, we're looking at helping to grow your business using technology to make your life easier. So we use Xero, QuickBooks, Dex, things, HubDoc. We use whatever we can to make life easier for our partners, our clients. And we're helped to get to what you want from your business. And that's why we have these, because it might be financial. You want to earn more money or have more profit. You might want to have more time with your family or to do what you want to do, whatever that is. And also mind, so you're not worried about things, which is one reason why we do a lot of the compliance for all of you, and is so that you know that you're not worried about HMRC coming and knocking on your door. These are the webinars. So we've got Reclaiming Your Time, which we're doing now. Then we've got the 10 hats for every business. So I will talk about that a little bit in this, but only a tiny bit compared to what we will in June. And then we've got core values, which is so key. I mean, we have core values within Naylor Accountancy Services, and that's really key to us. It's I care, so it's integrity, care, accountability, respect, and excellence. And we sort of talk about that every week within our huddles that we have within Naylor Accountancy Services. Then we're talking about business continuity planning. So that's if things happen to you, you're a business owner, or anything in the environment. And then cash flow freedom. So that's up until September. We have got a whole program to December, and these are also on our website as well. These are the past ones. So we've got the 3 essential tools for business success that we did back in January. These are on YouTube, guys. So if you want to watch any of these, they're on our Naylor Accountancy Services YouTube channel. So you can just go and have a look at that. And it's all up there. So you can definitely just have a look at that. There's also building a better business, getting in Feb, getting paid, and boost your business wealth. The boost your business wealth was focusing on strengthening your balance sheet, because we called it a different name because most business owners would be scared of talking about the balance sheet, but it's just to let you understand how it all operates in boosting your business wealth is actually making a stronger balance sheet. That was last. These are all on YouTube, like I said, if you want to watch them. So I'm going to briefly run through the agenda. And there'll be questions at the end, but you can put any questions in during this. I will just cover them all at the end if that's okay. But put them in the panel box and I'll cover them. There might be quite a few, so do think of anything as they're coming up. And you can also sort of have a think about actions all the way through it. I'd always recommend that you think at least one action, preferably 3 from this. There might be some things that you might want to do. So have a look and just write them down. And you can always share them at the end as well, if you wish. So the agenda, we're just going to understand why we're always busy, because we're always busy. And there's a law for that as well, but I'll go into that. But everyone's busy, whatever you do. Mindsets that need to reclaim your time. So there are mindsets you want to be looking at. that will help you reset that. And we look at it in our leadership team and also our team itself within Nail Accountancy Services to help them sort of manage their time as well, because a lot of it is a mindset and how you look at things. Identify where time is being wasted. Now, this is a big thing. So people do waste time, especially on certain things. 5 practical ways to permanently free up your time. So there's just some practical ways of doing it. Obviously, what happens when you free up time, you tend to, well, you should be filling it with something else, even if that's something fun or with your family or whatever, but you have that. You only have 24 hours in a day, so you have to fill it with something, whatever that is. What to do with your time. So that we'll sort of cover that, business, pleasure, whatever that is. But there are things that you can do, and then next steps that we can do, and then Q&As at the end. So next steps for you, and potentially how we can help you if you want that. But there's definitely ways you can just do things yourself as well. We'll always be busy. So I'm just going to sort of kick off this by looking at why we're always busy, because and there are 5 reasons. So basically the first one, and this is one thing I've been talking with the team, especially within Naylor Accountancy Services leadership team, is work expands to the available time. And it always does this. It's called Parkinson's law. So if you look up Parkinson's law, basically time or even a budget. So if you've got a certain amount of budget, it will expand to whatever that budget is, because you know you've got that time and you know you've got that budget. Even though if you give yourself a smaller deadline or a smaller budget, you'll actually manage to do it effectively to that time. This happened loads at university, not for me, because I was, but for a friend of mine. If we had a month to do a project, he would be doing it on the last day. He'd be reading the newspaper every single day in the library instead of getting on and doing his work. Whereas if you sort of just got on and did it, you can get it done in advance. So he had a whole month. So he spent a whole month just doing whatever he wanted, distractions. So that's more the distraction side there. But you also find it within businesses. So we found it within Naylor Accountancy Services that if people just have a limited amount of work, they'll expand their time to do that work. Whereas if you give them more work, they can still do the same amount of work they did, but it is compressed down and they do it more effectively. And they look at how to do it more effectively and being productive as well. So you fill the time with whatever. And there's no shortage of distractions. Like my friend that read the newspaper, and this is going way back when you actually had to get the books out of the library and there wasn't internet or anything. But he used to read the newspaper instead of going and getting the books for reference to do the report or whatever it is that we need to do, essay for our coursework. And the distractions we have, there's so many. You've got so many like emails and things like. We'll go more about that as well. And our perception, sorry, I can't say that, of busyness changes. So when you're at school, say if you think primary school, you're always busy doing things, but you're learning the alphabet and everything like that. And then once you go to secondary school, you're suddenly doing a lot more in that same time, but you didn't have time really to do any homework probably in primary school. And you don't really have time in secondary school, to do your homework and all the other things that you do as a teenager as well. Then when you go to uni, you've got even more work, theoretically, because you've got to do a lot of your home studying as well, and you've got to manage that time. So you have to do more studying and everything. And then when you go to work, you've got more tasks, and then it grows as you progress within an organization of what you're actually outputting and the quality of what your output is doing. So your perception of businesses changes throughout time. And I've noticed it even in the Naylor team. So when we brought on people to start off with, like graduates or anything, what they can do is not as much because they're learning. So they think they've got that they're so busy, and then they realize later they can actually do things more effectively and productively, and then they get more work on and they're more efficient. And busy equals success. When the last time someone said how's work going? We normally always say we're busy. And so we're always busy. So everybody thinks that busyness is success. If you only work 2 hours a day and then just watch TV the rest, you wouldn't think you're being that successful. So people do fill their time with whatever that is. And that's Parkinson's law. You fill it with whatever's required. Key is to focus on what's the most important, but we'll go into that later. but we choose to work the way we do. So we have to sort of basically make better choices about how to sort of reclaim our time. So we're going to look at some helpful mindsets to get us started. And the mindsets are something that we look at a lot within intelligent outsourcing as well as narrow accountancy. And we have training programs for that, for our teams to actually look at these. But it's key not how many tasks that you can accomplish, but just identify the most important tasks to focus on. And basically do those. We do that within Naylor accountancy because we have what we call rocks, like our projects every quarter. We set them every quarter. We have a plan for the year, 10-year, 5-year vision. That's part of our rhythm of our business. But that's something that we look at doing, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. So I haven't talked about that. Being too busy is often an excuse as well. So to actually get things done. So you might be busy doing trivial things or things that aren't urgent. Or you might be doing just things that we're going through, something that's urgent but not important. So we need to focus on what's important. Now, I hope that you've heard of this book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It's a brilliant book. If you haven't just listen to it or read it. It's quite a thick book, so you can also get a summary of it. You can get it on YouTube if you just put Stephen Covey's Highly Effective People summary. There's a summary of it there. There's lots of them because it's a very famous book, basically, which most people look at. We're going to look at the 7 habits, but we're basically going to look at the first 3 because they are more to do with time. So the first habit is proactive. So you basically make a choice to improve your life through being through the things that you can influence, and that's being proactive and looking to look at that. So that's where we are there. So the proactives, this is managing yourself. So when you look at this diagram here, you can see the managing yourself, that's sort of like below the independence, or it's sort of dependence. So you're managing yourself. So it's be proactive. And you're looking at that. And that's one of our core values as well, which is accountability and stuff. So we need to be accountable to and being proactive at looking at stuff. Then the second is begin with the end in mind. That's basically your values are your framework for your decision making, and just use them as the goals and focus on what you want to achieve. So it's looking at what you want to achieve and moving forward that way. So if you look at the beginning with the end in mind, there's also a more morbid thing. We'll talk about that in more detail that Stephen Covey goes into in beginning with the end in mind. So you think of what you want to achieve before you actually go out and do things, because then you look at, are your tasks that you're working on the important things that are going to get you to that sort of goal, basically. And then the third one, so the last one we're really going to talk about is put first things first. So what that means is set your priorities and focus on them, avoiding wasting time on the ones that aren't as important or unimportant and non-urgent. But we'll look at the Achievers Matrix in a minute, which will explain this a little bit more. So it's be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first. So that's all part of the Stephen Covey. Those are the first 3 Stephen Covey ones. Now, this is sort of dependent. So this is depending on you. Now, I'm just going to briefly talk about the other habits, so the other ones that are sort of interdependent. So that's relying on other people. And that's when you start growing your business and you're looking at getting above things so that you can actually grow yourself and your business. So those are, think win-win. So that's basically where you're wanting to win-win. You don't want to win-lose. So if you win, someone's losing, or you lose and they win. Because you want everyone to win, have a win-win, because then people feel better and you actually get partnerships and you get better relationships with people. If you look at someone like Trump, he's more of, I'm going to win and you're going to lose. You want a win-win. Seeking first to be understood, then be understood. Now that is also with management more. So that's basically listening to people and then making sure, and then synergizing is everybody working together harmoniously. So that's what you'd want within a business as you've grown it. And the last one, the 7th one, is sharpen your saw, and that's all about self-development and learning. You guys are doing this now, being on this webinar. And well, obviously this will be on YouTube. Some people couldn't make this, so we're going to send it on YouTube to people as well, and it will be on our channel. But this, if you do all this, it is all part of learning. And the sharpening saw means that if you are sawing something like a tree, if you keep sawing trees down, it's going to get blunter, and you're not going to saw as many trees down. So you need to sharpen it. You need to stop doing the work and then sharpen. And sharpen is your learning. So you learn, and then you go back to doing the work again. So this is another mindset. And what we're going to look at is put the 7 habits in this. This one I have covered quite a bit in other webinars, because all bid to us at Naylor is so important, because what we use this is we talk about team members being above the line, which is where we want to be, but that's like victor, or below the line. Below the line's the victim, and you don't want to, you justifying yourself. So you know, you're blaming, excusing, and denying. That's the bed bit of orbit. And then the top, that's the victor side. That's ownership, accountability, and responsibility. That's where we all want to be. So you look at what you can control, and then being proactive over that, and stay above the line, focusing just on what you can control. So, and the whole thing is like, for me, look, with these webinars, I did do lots of these webinars during COVID and just before COVID. But then I had to stop because I was just so busy. So part of mine was that we always wanted to be educating clients and helping them sort of being able to develop their businesses, so make their businesses thrive. So I've come back to this, and I'm making sure that I do it every single month that we have these webinars. And the idea there is I'm wanting to educate. So I've actually stopped making excuses that I'm busy, and I've just put this in my diary. It does take me time just to set them up, go through all these, create the presentations, and make sure I'm remember it all before I come in on these, because I do create some beforehand, and then obviously presenting it. But that was, I was below the line in that I wasn't doing it because I was. So I've made taking ownership and accountability and responsibility, and made sure I put the time in my diary to actually do this. I do have help from the likes of Stephanie and others. So we do have people here helping me doing this, just to make sure it's in my diary, and that the slides are looking good, and everything like that. So I hope the slides are okay. So that's one thing. And also there's management of my diary. So I've actually taken accountability on my diary, and I now split it into 15 minutes. So that's where I'm doing it. And that's my proactivity there. And also starting with the end in mind, because I want to make sure that I'm getting the tasks done, and I focus on the most important. So we put the most important things in my diary, and then we fill it in with 15 minutes wherever we need to do other things as well. What I found, and I've only changed it to 15 minutes a little while ago. This is just a little tip, and I'm probably saying it too soon within this slideshow. But with the 15 minutes, what happens is that you're able to do potentially 4 tasks or 4 different meetings within 1 hour instead of 2 if it's on half an hour. And what it does as well for me is mean that if I have 15-minute break, that's fine. But if I have half an hour break, that's a problem. So in my mind, so you actually start working on a different time frame as well, which means you just accomplish more. So Stephen Covey's second habit of highly effective people, it also ties into the orbit because it's called starting with end in mind, and it's thinking like you'd like people to describe how you'd like people to describe you at your funeral. This is the morbid thing. So without getting into it in too much detail, it starts being the person you are now. So you want to, so instead of waiting till you die, start by being the person you want now. And there's a story of Nobel basically, he actually created dynamite. So he's Swedish, or was, and what happened was someone died. It was his brother, and everyone thought it was him that died. And he read his own obituary, and his obituary was that he brought death and destruction to the world with dynamite. I shouldn't laugh. So because of that, what he did is he created the Nobel Peace Prize. So he created all those Nobel Prizes, and now nobody really thinks of him as Nobel, as the person who actually created dynamite, although that's what he did do. they think of him as the Nobel, the Peace Prize, the Literature Prize, Science Prize, the Nobel prizes that we have in Stockholm in Sweden. So he saw what people were looking at him and how they seen him, and then he changed it to make sure that he created what he wanted people to see. So with the end in mind. So that was him being sort of basically moving from staying above the line and being proactive. So with this slide, basically, this is your second mindset. It's Atomic Habit, and it's by James Clear. Now, that's an amazing book as well. James Clear talks about how to create your habits. So it's basically, it speaks directly at starting with the end in mind. So it's building an identity effectively based on habits. So it enables you to sort of better prioritize your time and achieve better results. And you do it by sort of focus on who you need to be, your identity, and then choosing habits consistent with your identity. Now, in the Atomic Habits, one thing he starts with, if you wanted to go to the gym, start with just putting your trainers by the door, then start by just putting your kit on, then start by going to the gym and then coming home, then start by going to the gym and just staying 5 minutes, and then just build it up that way gradually. So it's atomic habits. So it's gradual. That's why it's atomic, because it's small. And then eventually you'll go to the gym for half an hour, whatever it is you want to do, and then it becomes a habit. They say you need to do something 21 times before it becomes a habit. But it all depends. You have to make it a habit. You have to just create that. But it's do little steps at a time. If you really not, you don't have to go in and do everything all at once, because you're probably only going to do it for once and then you've had enough. So it's creating those habits gradually. I mean, for me, I've got a habit which is my identity as well, which I've done since a teenager, and that's do exercise every single morning. So I very rarely don't do this. So every single morning I'll do exercise. I have an exercise routine which will take me probably 15 minutes. It can be less if I don't have that much time, but minimum 15 minutes. And I have to do it every single day. And I've done it since a teenager. And it's something I'm trying to get my kids to do as well. My son is doing it, my daughter is not, but it's just something that's always been with me, and it means I feel without that I don't feel like I can start the day without doing my exercise in the morning. And it doesn't have to be much, it's a lot of stretching and then maybe some other things as well, but that's just from my personal one. And then also within the Naylor Accountancy leadership team, we have a weekly meeting. Now that's become a habit. We have it every single week. Doesn't matter who's there or not, we'll have a weekly meeting. And that's sort of looking at everything that's happening in Naylor Accountancy, looking at the data and just any issues so we can actually discuss them and solve them and put actions in place. We also have quarterly reviews and then our annual strategic plan, but that's all part of our rhythm of the business, and it's part of a habit. So we've created this habit. It's just a rhythm. It's like a heart beating, and we do it in both businesses. And what it does, even if you don't think you've got anything to say it that week, we do it, and we always find there's something, and we can always finish the meeting early, but potentially it's not, we normally spend an hour and a half on that. So from a reclaiming time perspective, let's just focus on your identity. So say that you want to be more proactive and focus on what you can control. And this is all that you want to do. So you can control things, but like your meeting lengths, how often, the frequency, but you find yourself always distracted. And this is what most people do. They find themselves distracted. But if you have a plan, a business plan, and you've got actions, then you're more likely to move that forward. But if you then suddenly have emails popping up or a text message popping in, you're potentially going to go into that and look at that. Oh, what is that about? And that's a cue. So you can see there's a message and you really want to read it. And that's a cue. So you've got the cue is that something's popped up saying there's a message and you want to do it. Then as you do that, you get a dopamine hit because you think, oh, great, I've got a message. That's really good. And I didn't know that it was a dopamine hit, but you do get that. And it's called a craving, basically. So you want to open that email and then that's a response, basically. So that's opening it becomes the response. And then you think to yourself, it's just a short email or a text, just from a client or a customer, and you want to know the answers. So you quickly tap out a response on your keyboard, and that takes 10 minutes. And then you hit send. And that's the reward. So because you've hit send. So that's the reward. It's the feeling of just basically feeling satisfied that you've responded and you've ticked an action to do before you know it, you're on to the next email. And this is what happened. It actually happens to me. even when I'm doing my exercise. So I do the plank for a few minutes, with some time, and have a timer on it. But when I go on there and I start going on my phone because I need to time it, I might go off onto a tangent. It's normally work related, looking at a Teams or a WhatsApp or something like that. So then I go off on that, and then I come back to it. I struggled there. So as well, so I have the cue, craving, response, reward. So because otherwise your brain's thinking, what was that about? What was that about? So it is. So we need mindsets that just reflects our identity. So who we need to be to control our time, and it is who you want to be to control your time, and you can adjust your behavior. And if you want to reclaim your time, you've got to do something different. And that's the same as everybody. We all have to do something different. Like I changed my diary to 15 minutes. And I do ask for meetings, like from Stephanie, who helps me with my diary. I ask them not to be more than half an hour if I can help it, just so that we can actually get through more. And if you have we're going to this, an agenda and things like that, it makes it quicker as well, because you know exactly what you're talking about. So, and what we're going to now do is look at what you can do differently now, using best time management model. So that's what we're going to look at now. This is the Achiever Matrix. It's also known as the Eisenhower Matrix because it was Eisenhower that actually created this originally. Stephen Covey brought it to life in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So with this, it's basically got 4 quadrants. So you've got important and urgent, which is quadrant 1. You've got important, not urgent, quadrant 2. And then you're not important but urgent, quadrant 3. And not important and not urgent, quadrant 4, which is the waste of time, basically. You want to be as much as you can in quadrant 2, especially as a business owner, because that's where you actually look at your strategy and everything, as well as and improving things before it becomes urgent and important. And that might mean starting things earlier if you've got tasks or projects or anything as well, and making sure it's there. But it reflects how we all live in a time-pressured world with multiple overlapping commitments, because that's what we all do. So urgency is no longer the reserve, for special occasions. Urgency is all the time. So separating tasks into the 4 quadrants just basically helps better manage the flood of responsibilities that we all have. So, and it also reflects the 3rd habit, which is put first things first. So that's basically looking at what's more important, which should be the important and not urgent one, which is sort of preparation, prevention, value clarification, planning. I mean, planning is massive in there. So when we do our annual strategic planning, that's in that, and our quarterly review meeting, because we set projects for the next quarter. Relationship building. So that's also in there. So that's with your customers and clients, and true recreation and empowerment. So basically empowering other people to delegate and things like that as well. Whereas you're urgent, that's like when you're crisis, you have to do it. You have no choice. Like, so for us in nail account stuff, if your VAT, is due and it's the 7th of April, I say, or, because it's the 7th of the month, and we need to do it on the 7th. Otherwise it's going to be late. So that's urgent. We need to do it on the 7th. What we try there to do is make sure that you guys, our clients, give us information by the 20th of the month. So we've got loads of time to get it done, and we want to get it all done by the 25th. So there's no urgency. So we're in the important and urgent, and that really, because we've planned it. We've already asked you about 4 times. So that our plan is, one of the KPIs is that you all have to be asked 4 times for information by the 20th. And that means that we tend to get information in quicker. There are some occasions when it doesn't happen, and it becomes urgent and important, but we don't want to be there on anything. So, even the year-end accounts, we don't really like being there, because then you don't know when your year-end accounts, how much you owe until the year end, 9 months after your year end. So literally on the day. So that's what we found with one of our acquisitions that we did, the first one. Everything was actually, they extended it by 3 months to 12 months. And we really didn't like that, because we were always in the important and urgent on everything. And this was year ends and everything for the acquisition. So what we did was we brought it back. It took 6 months to bring it back more, and then to 9 months, and then but after 9 months, we were virtually getting most in line with our 3 months if we got all the information back. So then now our aim is, with everybody, which it always is to get the year-end accounts done within 3 months if we've got all the information. If as long as we've got all that, we want to be doing that. So that's how we do it. So we're not getting into the important and urgent. It's just happening important, not urgent. If that makes sense. And that's part of our planning in Naylor accountancy services. But if you sort of separate the tasks, into the 4 quadrants, it just does really help you manage it, and especially putting that first things first. So we need to spend less time working in the urgent, which I've said. So it's the crisis, it's pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, meetings, preparations. A bit like my friend who was doing his projects last minute, despite being given a month to do it. He will do it at the last minute. He'll stress himself out. He'll be working till 4 a.m. in the morning and then handing it in 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., whatever the handing time was. So we want to not be in there as much as possible. You have to plan for that. And then spend more on the sort of the quality of the quadrant of quality, which is quadrant 2. We also need to sort of basically assess the other and eliminate disruptions. And that's literally, you've got, the quadrant of deceptions. That's interruptions, phone calls, many, matters, many proximates, pressing matters, popular activities, emails, some reports, some meetings. So not all meetings are important. They are important. I find them, we have to have meetings with people, but some are less important than others. The quadrant 4 is you should just get rid of, and that's trivia. It might be junk email, it might be Facebook, LinkedIn. I do use for networking, so I do use that, but I've got to be careful that I don't spend too much time on that, because it can suck you in. So you have to make sure that you're only doing what is within your important and not urgent. So you do what you plan, and plan it in your diary as much as possible. So some phone calls, like especially sales phone calls, for me, I have our admin team. They handle that, so they get a lot of they filter that out, and Steph filters out junk emails for me as well. And you have some time wasters as well. You've got to be careful on that, and just be careful of those activities and take them out. But we need to realize they're happening. So Facebook is a really bad example, or a good example of this, but they're really bad at it as well. Because now, and it's like TikTok as well. I don't do TikTok, but I've heard it's like TikTok, because now in Facebook, things come up, because I like martial arts. So what happens to me, if I look at Facebook, things come up with martial arts, and then I quite like them. So I start watching something, it might be getting out of a headlock or something like that, just something silly like this. And then it comes up with something else and something else. And before you know it, you can spend too much time on there. So I never do it unless I've got the time. And I'd spend very little time on it that much, but it can drag you down very easily. Facebook, TikTok, anything like that. You've got to be very careful that you don't waste time on that, and just eliminate it. Or if you want to do it for fun, do it in your free time. So what we're looking at now is looking at sort of utilizing productivity pyramid. So this is basically looking at the time and return on time invested. So it's looking at a productivity of your time as it gives you output, basically. And there's 5 stages just to think about when you're maximizing. The first stage is improve. And this is where you can work on mastering your expertise and work better. It's a bit like sharpening your sword. So it's improved. So this is where you spend your time improving what you're doing by learning. That's, getting better at your work and doing things better. Then you've got increase. And this is where you get more people, so more resources to do what you're doing and delegating or outsourcing. So that's where we have this. So you get just more people. We've done that in Naylor. So we got the admin in place. And the reason for that was it could take work away from the accountants of requesting information or boarding clients. And then the accountants can focus on what's accounting work, whereas they focus on tasks that aren't sort of needed to be done by the accountants. So it frees up their time. I brought on accountants, so it freed up my time originally so I could bring on new clients, have client meetings and everything. Now I brought on client managers so that I can then step back and look at the vision and strategy of Naylor Accountancy Services, which is what I do more of now. So that's where I've done. So we've got people in to help. And the outsourcing bit, you can also, we'll talk more about that in a bit, but there's more you can do in outsourcing on marketing, finance, things like that, but we'll talk in more detail about that. Then there's invest. So you can invest in technology, and that can help you scale. So one thing, we use Xero in QuickBooks, and that's like real-time information. You can also use Sage and things, but those are the ones that we expose in QuickBooks and Xero. So for us, what that means is that we can provide, theoretically, if you want our bookkeeping done on a regular basis, daily basis or weekly, more real-time information, so you can make better decisions and get invoices in quicker, you've got credit control that you can have within there, that's within Xero, that you can actually, it gets sent out to clients, to customers to pay and everything. So you can look at technology, but there's loads of things on technology you can look at depending on your business. Then there's invent, and that's creating your own systems or technology and create your own valuable IP or an app. Now, some people do this, but you have to have investment money. But then you have R&D relief as well, which we can always help on if you do that. So we do have some clients that actually do this. Then at the top end, you've got innovate and just work on better things. And this is basically just a simple form, very simple, just work on the better things. So have a look at this productivity pyramid and just think about where you are. And if there's anything there on the increase, do you need more people? So to delegate to? Do you want to be outsourcing anything? So there's like marketing, finance, which is the bookkeeping and things like that. And there just to free up your time. And that's where you need to free up your time, is looking at sort of increasing, getting more people or outsourcing things. And it allows you to grow your business. So what we found is that when somebody's starting their business, they want to potentially do their own bookkeeping. Then as they grow, they realize that their time isn't, and we say this to them, when they start with us, as soon as you want us to do your bookkeeping, let us know, because then you can focus on getting the business in. Because then what they want to be doing is focus on getting the business in and actually the doing of the business to actually keep the customers happy and bring them back in. So then we take that on board, and that's how we operate it. And you can outsource your marketing the bigger you get as well, or the more resource you need. So it helps you grow your business basically by doing this, increasing people or outsourcing. And we're happy sort of just to, as a Naylor Accountancy, just to talk about how you use the productivity pyramid to your advantage, and how you can use it. Because it is often sort of better just to have a fresh eyes on things as well. So we look at all of this in detail. We don't invent things really. We do have systems that we have, the processes, and we look at improving them all the time, because we have something called Project Perfect. But that's the processes. We're not inventing our IT or anything. We're not tech companies. Strategy 2 is stop working with the wrong people. Now, this is something that is quite simple, and it's just try and avoid them. And one thing is, straight away, don't pay. Those that don't pay, don't work with them, because they're wasting your time. so that if they don't pay your invoices, you should be looking at having a conversation with them. If they're not able to pay, get a payment plan in place or anything like that. And then at the end of that, if it's still not working, you might want to have a conversation with them. But we'll go into that in a minute. If someone treats your team badly. So we have had this in the past. We've not had it for a very long time, but there was one client, and this was actually during COVID, but he was bullying. He was actually, well, it might have just been before COVID, and it carried on after during COVID as well, just before and after. But he was bullying my client manager at the time, and I didn't know this. Well, as soon as I found out, I wasn't happy, and I had to have a conversation with him, and it did end up with we had parted company. But I, you want to be working with people that are respectful. I mean, one of our core values is respect. So we expect to be respectful to you, but we expect everybody to be respectful to our team as well. Because after all, if we didn't have a team, we wouldn't have nail accountancy services. And I want to be looking after our team. I want all our team to look after each other as well. So the respect is there. But for this, look at your business. If there is anyone that's treating your team badly, it's worth having the conversation. And it says, don't leave your core values. And that's sort of going about the treat as well. So treating someone badly. One of ours was, is respect, is also care. So that would go against it as well. So we wouldn't be too happy. We also have integrity. So if somebody was being dishonest, we'd have to have a conversation. And if it continued, that might not work with us as well. So have a look at your core values as well, whatever they are. We are doing one on core values. I think it's July, but I can't remember. It was at the start. But that might be useful if you don't have core values, just to bring it up and explain it to you. And if they're unreliable, so we always look at everybody to help them, get them. We don't really get them unless they really, really are painful. But if people are unreliable, you might want to. We have so few for us that come to the deadline because we manage everybody really well, like the admin team and the team members do. So we tend to not have things going to the wire unless it's meant to, because sometimes for some reasons, you as clients don't always want things filing on the time, because then if it's at company's house, people can see the details straight away. So you might just want it filed, but the work's done already. So it's literally just filing it. But what we call it is opening the door to opportunities. So if any of these here that you want to avoid, people, here, and you have these sort of people, you might want to open the door of opportunity to the wrong people, and because that frees up your time. So what we found with the first acquisition, which was really badly run, where everyone was doing their year ends and getting their sort of tax 12 months after the year end. So literally on the last day that they had to pay it, they were told what to pay. With that, they weren't getting paid for a lot of the work they were doing. When we were doing their accounts, we could see they weren't paid for the last year's accounts. Now they were stressed and they weren't operating well, but they weren't getting paid either. So they were getting stressed from clients doing their client work, but they weren't getting paid. So if you aren't getting paid, and that wasn't because the client wasn't paying them, it's because they weren't invoicing. So make sure you do invoice. I mean, this is this, but just make sure that you have all that in place. But you can open the door to opportunity, and it just free up your time. So what they could have done is actually freed up their time with anybody who was wasting their time, and then they could have actually got more cash in the door because they weren't invoicing anyway, and then they'd freed up time to actually invoice. That's where I was going with that story. So they needed to really be invoicing because that was important and urgent, and it actually became urgent because they obviously didn't have the cash rolling in the door. Well, look at these as an opportunity for them to, any wrong people to move on and free up your time. That's strategy 2. Strategy 3. Now that's run better meetings. Now this is something that we do look to do very much in both nail accountancy services and intelligent outsourcing by having like our weekly leadership meetings are an hour and a half. We look to not go over. Sometimes we do, but we really don't want to. And if we do, we mark up our meetings out of 10 on the leadership meetings. So if it goes over, we mark it down basically. So we give it marks out of 10. So we literally don't want to do it. But what you can do with meetings as well is, plan the meetings. So, because poorly managed meetings are in the top 10 of time wasters, and so there's some rules of the game. So these are some rules worth thinking about for your meetings. One is set a time limit and stick to it. This is really important in your diary because so you put it in your diary and stick to that time. The only problem is that you sometimes are talking about things that you want to carry on, but you may then what you should be looking at doing is booking a meeting to go back to it, so that then you've got time in the future. I really attempt to do this all the time, but it does run over 5-10 minutes most on really important things if there's something. But the idea is that this shouldn't happen at all, and you need to be managing. And what you can do that with these, you can have 15-minute meetings. So with people, just over coffee or something, if you want to go through things quickly. So you just say, we've got 15 minutes, bang, go through it, go on Teams or Zoom as well. And just make sure, people know, or 45 minutes instead of an hour. So it's shorter, or half an hour. So they're shorter as well. Another one is report prior to the meeting. So what you can ask for, if there's reports that you go through in the meeting, ask to be sent before the meeting so people all read them. And then it's easy to digest, and you can just go through any salient points that you want to on that meeting. So, the other one is that you can have a weekly sort of team member report. So the team members can create a report just on what they are working on, what challenges they have, what support they might need, and what they've planned for the week. And what this does, it just increases efficiency dramatically because people actually think about what they're doing. So that's one thing that you can do. And we do have a template. So if you want a copy, just ask in the, put it in the chat, and we'll get a copy to you. So that's a copy of just like this, what is it, weekly team member report, if you want a copy of that. Set a regular rhythm for your meetings. So, and we do this, so we have huddles. So we have 3 huddles a week. We used to have daily, and because we went on 4-day work week with our offshore team with intelligent outsourcing, we just do it 3 days a week. So that's a rhythm. That's done every 3 weeks. One of those, we talk about the core value. We have a leadership meeting, which is the rhythm. So that's the meeting every week. And then we have our quarterly reviews, which I'm going over everything every 90 days. That's another rhythm. And an annual one. That's still the annual strategic planning meeting. So that's the rhythm of our business, basically. So we make sure that happens, and it's just making sure it all happens. The idea is also that you put in these key meetings, that you've got your one-to-ones or whatever, and then you put all your little sand and pebbles around these things that are important in your diary, and then you make sure you focus on what you need to be doing meeting-wise. And you can also block time out with what you need to. This is for meetings. Set clear purpose and agenda. Now, this is something that is really critical. Have an agenda, because if you have a meeting without an agenda, it can go off track. You're not really sure what's happening. So we, it also encourages people to prepare before they go to the meeting, and it, it just helps not going off on tangents, and just make sure people come back. We do have something called tangent alert, but so people, if they go off track, and it can be me, so they they bring us back in. And agree actions to avoid lengthy discussions. So you can talk about the issue, make sure you've got the right issue, so you discuss it, and then you solve it, and then you have a solution. We have a solution, and and then that solution is the action. So you get actions from these meetings. So make sure they're all written down, and give one person the accountability of it, which is accountability here. So make sure all the actions are recorded. If it's in Teams, put it in there, in planning or whatever you've got, a planner. Make sure people know what they're doing, and give them a time frame to do it in as well. So that means that you get all the actions done within the meeting, from the meeting, and they don't get missed as well. So those are sort of some key sort of strategies for running a better meetings. Agenda is the top one, and make sure everyone's accountable for their actions, and agreeing those as well. And don't go off on tangents. That's the main thing. Stick on track, or the agenda will help you do that. And again, if you want that regular, so the report for prior to a meeting, if you want that, just let me know, and we'll send you the template. Strategy 4, and I'm doing a webinar on this in June. So it's the 10 hats of organization, of an organization review. So we're talking about the 10 hats. So there's 10 departments in each business, basically. And essentially it's the mindset of a business structure and leadership and management. So it starts like the strategic is above. So that's your shareholders and directors. And then below you have the leadership, CEO, GM, and that's sort of more operational as well, which is, you've got your products, your service, whatever the development, development of that. You've got operations and delivery. You've got the sales, and you've got your marketing. Then there may be one, and then you might split them out the bigger you are. Then you've got finance, then you've got administrative and technology, and then you've got HR, sort of human resource. So these are the 10 hats. When you start off a business, you have all these hats because there's no one else to delegate anything to. So the whole point is here that you want to be delegating this where you can. So once you've got a team, you might be looking at delegating some of these hats basically within this org chart. People can have more than one. When you're bigger, you may have one person for each one. But the fact is that you can actually have people you've had all of them. So you can actually have people with a few. And then as you grow, you can take things up and get more expertise in-house to help, which makes you sort of, what it does, these accountability lines, they allow better planning, reporting, delegation, and sort of time management, basically. And it helps you fill resource and assess the resource gaps. And the whole point of it is you build a better business, which is sustainable, scalable, and basically ultimately sellable if you're wanting to sell. But even if you're not wanting to sell and you just want to be the shareholder and carry the business on, you create a business that can actually run without you. And that's why it's more sellable and also scalable. So up here, you've got all businesses can, categorize businesses activity into these 10 hats, like I say. Those are just little pictures there. So what I'd say is, so think about how many hats you have and what you're wearing. So have a look at these, think about that. And are there any that you could consider removing? Because you think that it's really wasting your time and you've got other people within your organization, within your business that could be better at it, or you could delegate it to and train them in it. And what you want to be looking at is anything that's not your natural strength or being neglected as well. So it might be sales and marketing, you might be neglecting that. So that is something you could outsource if you wanted to. And then obviously you've got finance. If there's things you're not looking at finance, you can always talk to us because we might have things that we can help you with there, whatever that is, especially bookkeeping, FD, and things like that. We can definitely help with management and reporting, anything like that. But then, just form a plan, basically. If there's anything you want to get rid of, you might not be doing it now, but you might be able to do it now. But think, well, when I get to this level of profit or revenue, whatever it is that you want, then we'll be looking at investing in some more sales and marketing experts, to work with me, or a new team member so I can delegate some of the admin to them. Or I might, bring in a HR expertise, just outsource that as well. So just the benefits of the 10 hats organizational, because we do a 10 hats organizational review. If you want us to do it, I will be talking more about these 10 hats in June as well. But the first thing, it just gives you clarity around the roles. So of what individual roles and how they work together. It also sort of improve delegation. It gives you that and personal development of your team members and yourself if you required it. And then a plan basically of what you're going to be doing going forward. And it gives you clear accountability lines. And that's because you can see who's accountable to who, basically. And it has identify resourcing gaps and also outsourcing opportunities. So it just identifies those, and it doesn't have to happen now, but you can identify things and see where you want to go in the future. And then you can plan that. So you can have a plan, like we have a 10-year plan, 3-year plan, and then, well, the 10-year vision, really, 3-year plan and a 1-year plan as well. And it provides, I mean, this is the key, scaling, the scaling up without blowing you apart as well, because it actually gives you the chance to plan and look at what you can do and get a second set of eyes on it. Like I say, marketing plan, marketing, finance, and those are all common ones in HR, IT and admin. So you can get, you can outsource that. You can have a virtual EA. You can have IT. We have external IT people as well as some internal within intelligent outsourcing, because we know they've got the expertise in IT, and that is at a higher level because they're on top of all their learning all the time. Strategy 5. Delegate effectively. Now, this is a really good one because you want to be delegating effectively. And you don't want just to fling a task at somebody. You need to do effectively. And this requires communication. So delegation, you're delegating basically when you basically first assess the task and delegate to the right person. You have to do the right person and provide them basically clear support. And then you have to communicate the parameters. And you can do this verbally or either by email or written procedure. What we tend to do, because if you haven't got procedures written up, what we tend to do in Naylor and such as is basically get the person that's getting trained, get them to write up the procedure. So you telling them, you're going through the procedure, you might be doing it on Loom. You might have a Loom video that you've done. You might even be doing it just in person, or you could do it where you're doing it over Teams or Zoom, so they can record it all. So they can record you and them interacting, and then they can review it back, and then they can write up the procedure, but they can also review it back to make sure they're not asking you silly questions as well. So the thing you don't want to do is just throw them something and throw them under the bus. So it's just, make sure that you're thinking it through and you still taking responsibility and accountability. So you're above the line and orbit, not giving them it and just ignoring them. If any issues happen, you're still taking accountability for that work that you've delegated. You're just not doing it. Now, on this, just very quickly, just on the delegation before I go into the application, you might have them, and this happens with us a lot. They might find something that's more efficient. Things might have changed, or they might just see things differently. So don't be offended if they improve on what you've created with the procedures and make it more efficient, because that's what you want. One thing you really don't want to do is abdicate responsibility. So this is where people think you're different. That's why I was talking about you're still accountable. You are still responsible for that thing to happen, that task. You just delegated it. So you need to make sure it's happening. So you need to make sure they're adequately trained and understanding what they're doing, and that you're reviewing it. Now, if they do make a mistake, don't just take it off from them, because then you're wasting time, because you learn through mistakes. So you want that to happen. So basically, don't abdicate and set your team up to fail. That's a damaged culture, communication, productivity, and so on. It's really bad. So what will you do with your time? So the whole point here is this is just basically after completing all this, what you're going to be looking at, teach others what you've learned. So from this webinar, because there's lots here that you can do. And also commit them to learning what you know. So you can delegate, basically sharpen the saw. That's are you going to be learning more, spending more time learning? You're doing this, it is sharpening your saw, but are you going to do more to make sure that you do that? Are you going to make better plan, so to be more commercial? Now that's one thing that's really good. Do you want to create better habits? Like I say, the Atomic Habits by James Clear, that's a really good book. But look at those habits that you might want to create within your business and your personal life as well, because that all feeds into your well-being. And take time for you, which is your well-being, because that's something that we need to just create those habits and make sure that our time, we also have time for ourselves and our family and just our health. So have a look at your time and just have a look and see if that's anything you know. And what about you? Basically, I've got, this is basically stress, pressure, and just basically a lack of time that can damage the ability to maintain a perspective, and why it's sort of really both. It matters both in sort of workplace and your personal lives to have control of your time, because people get stressed and overwhelmed otherwise. So you need to make time for that wellness, and I'm sure you do. Whatever that is, time with family, doing exercise, whatever that is, you need to make sure you bring that time in, or just the chill time. And instead of trying to fit our sort of important me time activities amongst your work commitments, try and just let it just flip, so that you know flip on in its head. You don't want that happening. You want to be going to bed, and bed in the non-negotiable activities into our schedule and diary. So the things that you have to be doing, make sure they get done in the day. So book them into your diary. Like this webinar is booked in the diary. It's booked in the diary months in advance, so we know it's there. So this is important to me, but it's not urgent. So I don't have to do these, but I want to do these because it's part of our growth of our business and helping our clients with things that they can help their businesses thrive as well. So, and just fit the work around the stuff around the important things. So by putting the big things in the diary, then you've got all the little bits like your pebbles and your sands. Don't know if you've ever seen this with a cup, that you fill a cup full of big rocks. Those are your projects, your big rocks that you want to be doing. And you think, oh, this cup's full. Well, then you put pebbles in because there's space for little pebbles. And you think, oh, this cup's full. And then you put sand in the other spaces, so you can fit more in around that cup. So you can fit more around it, but you first of all need to put your big rocks in, if that makes sense, and then work around it. And this makes it more productive. That's why I do quarterly hours, 15 minutes in my diary, because it makes me more productive. Your next steps, what are they? So what could they be? So basically, you can assess where your time is being underutilized. It's always worth doing that. This just help you become more conscious of your daily choices. What I do myself is I put everything in the diary 15 minutes. I look to do it for my whole day, so I know what I'm doing, even when I'm spending time with the family. Might be me being OCD, but what it means is I can see what I'm doing with my time, and then if there's anything I want to be doing that I'm not doing, I can sort of potentially move things around. And then get clear on the habits that you might want to create, that will help you and improve your productivity and focus. And planning for sustainable improvement just starts with the small things, and then starts with leaders in your business. You are the leaders in business, and start with your leaders as well. Identify three, and I spoke about this at the start, 3 actions that are most important to you. So look at that as well, and then and get just record them, and so just make sure you've got those, at least one anyway. Focus on what you can do. So this is where you look at what you can do and what you're in control of. Don't worry about what you can't, because you can't control that. Unfortunately, that just has to happen. And I do this. I also tell my leadership, you can't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Just focus on what we can do. And then that's all we can do. We can do the best at that. And then those other things, we just can't, we've got no control over. And then get support. So if you want help, we are here to talk to. So you can always come to us with things, and I'll just mention a few of those in a minute. actually it'll be now. So I forgot the slide order. So how can we help you? So the 10 hat organizational review, we can do that with you. We have a whole process of going through that with you. So let us know. We are doing the June one. So you might want to just watch that first, but we can definitely do that. A 10 hats organizational review. We do have accountability coaching. So that's just making sure that you are accountable to your actions and everything like that, and help you move things forward. So we can help you on that as well within Naylor Accountancy Services. And then the Achiever Matrix. If you want that worksheet, let me know. That's the Stephen Covey Eisenhower Matrix. So let me know, and we can send that to you. We've got that all in a PDF. Complimentary client meeting. So you can have a complimentary client meeting with just to go over your business, how you're doing things. So but that's all free as well. So you can come. The other two there is a cost too, but the top 1 and 2, these ones there aren't. So now it's over to questions. I'm just going to get a drink to just, but if you want any questions, just please put them through. So I'm just going to get my bottle. Sorry. So just put some questions in. I'm just going to, thank you. I've found, this is Michael Holman. I've found that procrastination is easy to overcome by just making a start on a task and then breaking it into smaller parts, even if it's only 15 minutes, and the task always seems less daunting once you've made the start. Would you agree? 100%, Michael. What I'd say with that, Michael, is as well, if there's a task that you don't want to do, you tend to put it off. Whereas if you start and just do, say, I'm only going to do 5 minutes, and this is a bit like the atomic habits. So you just start for 5 minutes, and then what happens is that you end up doing more because you're getting into the flow. But if you just pick up something and do it 100%, procrastination is the worst. That's one thing you just do not want to be doing, procrastinating, and that's where you come into being proactive, basically. There's another one. I know this is all getting from you, Michael, obviously. I know Xero does time tracking for projects, but are there any of the Xero features or apps that can use to help manage or save more time? I don't know, to be honest, in the Xero apps. Outlook's one that I use, and like a 15 minutes in my diary, that really helps. Time wise, there are apps that people use, but that's with their team to sort of record time and for projects and things like that sit with Xero. It's a question we can ask. I can ask that if we just keep that queue there. Steph, if you don't mind, Steph's here, so if you don't mind keeping that, that'd be great. Are there any other questions? I've got some other questions here, but so I've got one, which is, how do you find best manage your actions? I mean, again, that's not 50-minute diary, but an action might take longer. So I try and put it in. And then what happens is if I can't do it, because some things urgent, something that's not important or urgent does come up. So I have to focus on that, unfortunately. So I then just move it on. So then I move it to another time, another date, and then I just make sure it doesn't get deleted, or and I avoid it. So I look to make sure that's happening. What if you cannot get out of the urgent on the achievers matrix in quadrant? No, that's quadrant 2, and it's non-urgent but important. Now, basically, you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan to do, which is where we can always help you in that. But you need to have a plan. And what it means is that you might need extra people, like I said, outsource something, but you might not be able to do it now because you might not have the resources and the funds to do it. But what you can look at is say, this is where I want to go. Because as soon as you start thinking to have a plan for it, things happen to make it happen. And that's why we do a 10-year vision, and everything for Naylor Accountancy Services. So we have a long vision, and then things happen to make that whatever the outcome that you want the goal to happen, and you start thinking about it, and it makes sure that you get either more clients or get more added services that you can that provide, and then it means that you can actually get that person or outsource that work. Obviously, if you do sales and marketing, that might be an investment that you want to do so that you get new business coming in. So, and obviously we do bookkeeping, VAT, FD stuff, credit control, things like that, which can save you time and also make you focus more on things. The 10 hats of the business, can you go over that more? I will be doing it, like I say, in June 1, so I'm not going to go over it more now. But we will be going over that more on what it all is in more detail. It is something that I took time in Naylor to actually be able to delegate to other people, because I didn't have the team members available to me to actually delegate it. I wasn't big enough as a business to have all the people that I needed to step back to just do strategy and vision like I am now. So that's why we did acquisitions, to grow quicker, so that then we could actually accomplish what I wanted to do. That's why I say, if you have a plan, what you want to do, you look at then strategies to get there, and then also you start thinking about things that you can do in order to get you out of that. Because that was one thing that was holding back both my businesses of intelligent outsourcing and Naylor account services, was because I was doing the doing of the business rather than stepping back to be able to do more of the strategy and the vision, if that makes sense. Which is why we're going around, building Naylor the way we are, through acquisition and organically, and adding services that we can do to help businesses thrive. Because the whole point we want is businesses to grow with us, so that they then thrive and get more profit for their business owners. And we're going to be introducing something called Profit First, which is where you look at that. So it's looking at things there as well. How do you manage to keep to the meeting time? Unfortunately, I don't always, which I know Stephanie gets annoyed about, and other people, because like even yesterday, I'm in the Philippines at the moment. We finished at 3, but I had a meeting with someone in Canada, which was really important. I wasn't going to be able to speak to him for another 2 weeks. And I've got some other meetings with people here that come on the back of that. So I did go over by about 15, 20 minutes, and I did that on purpose because I needed some more information. But again, I try not to have that happen as much as possible. But it's something, get those agendas in. Make sure that you stick to them as much as possible. We do that in our weekly meetings and our annual strategic meeting, our quarterly review meetings. Cool. Are there any more? Oh, sorry, I've gone more questions. Or if there aren't, well, there is. Sorry, go back. Dext, yes, Dext is a really good time. Ways, I think, Michael, you probably use Dext, or we can give you, actually, we can, if you're with us, we can give you HubDoc, which is free with zero. So we can give you HubDoc for free. Dext, there is a cost for Dext, or if you're on zero, you need Dext with QuickBooks. So there is an extra cost for that, but it's brilliant Dext, and then it's HubDoc as well, which is good with zero. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you with a parting thought, which is Yoda here. No, try not. I can't do the voice. Do or do not. There is no try. So what that means is, don't say try. We try not. I try not to say try, which I've just done. So that's a bad one. But we aim not to say try. I say it to our leaders. Don't try anything. Just do it and work on it and see how you get on. But don't try. Make sure it gets done. So look at the actions. Are there anything you want to put in place? We are here to help if you want. And so no, try not. Do or do not. There is no try. So do or do not. There's no try. Thank you for coming, everybody. 2 really good books. Books again, James Clear, Atomic Habits, and Atomic Habits, and Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You can get them on YouTube on summaries and things like that, so you might have some ads on there, but they're on there as well as the audio book. or the real life book. Well worth a read, both of them. Anyway, thank you for your time, and I hope that you can come to the 10 hats in June, the webinar that we've got. This will be on YouTube, so at some point this week on Naylor Accountancy's channel, so you can always watch it there, or let other people watch it as well if you found it useful. And if you do find it useful, please do comment on it, because I'd be love to hear. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.